It's just like messes me up when I hear stories like this. Hello, everyone, and especially my 15 subscribers. Sorry if the audio is a little different. If anyone has any tips on how to make Audacity work to record both the in-game play and the mic, I would heavily appreciate any advice or links in the comments below. For those that don't know, on November 23rd it is National Adoption Day. I myself am adopted. So I've decided that this month all of my Friday episodes are going to have something to do with adoption, with a special episode on the 22nd. So I decided I'm going to kick off the first Friday of the month. Pretty sure. I think the first Friday of the month was actually like the first. So I have decided that I'm going to start off this new theme with reacting to animated adoption stories, which is a little hint to what the special episode on the 22nd will be. So let's kick it off. Alright, so my first story that I am reacting to comes from My Story Animated. The title on the video is My Parents Adopted a Monster, but it looks like the thumbnail, or just the beginning of the story's title, is Bad Decisions Make Good Stories. So let's see what's up. The characters' names are changed to
my name is Tyler, and I was a happy kid up to the age of 11.
Cool.
You might wonder why. Well, it was
Not really. You're starting puberty, going to middle school. It's pretty normal for most.
around this time that my parents told me that I would be getting a little brother.
Okay, this is a little on the other end. It's the reaction of a kid who is having an adopted child come into their house, not the adopted child's reaction to being a part of a new family. That's kind of cool. I want to hear this.
When my parents told me about adopting a kid, they were practically jumping through the roof with joy. They painted a picture of my brother and me always playing together in the yard. They also said how he would look up to me like a superhero and how it would be my job to protect him.
Yeah, that sounds great, except like the kid needs to be like a kid brother, substantially younger, I feel, to make that plausible. And they're setting it up to where it's going to be like this instant bond that's going to happen the second that the kid shows up. And it's like, this kid probably has like emotional attachment disorder. He's probably been to a couple other families. Like, he's not going to warm up to anybody anytime soon.
So when the day finally arrived and my dad went to pick him up, I was so excited that I waited by the window for them to arrive. When they walked through the door, I rushed over to greet them. Hiding behind my dad's leg was a short, shaggy-haired kid with glasses named Billy.
Okay.
That's when my dad pulled me aside. He explained that Billy was very shy, and it was up to us to make him feel more at home. I told him he can count on me. I love the idea of being the big brother, and seeing how my dad depended on me made me feel better. But it didn't take long for the differences to show themselves.
Yeah,
It started
probably
with
not.
dinner. When we sat down to eat my favorite meal, we found out that Billy was allergic, and that was the last time we ate it together.
Wait, like a substantial difference for this kid is that his brother has an allergy?
The differences between us became even clearer when it came to school. Billy was apparently gifted and performed above his grade. Me, on the other hand, I was just getting by.
See, that's like normal sibling rivalry, though. That has nothing to do with the fact that he was, like, adopted and there were differences. Like, I had that with my sisters. Like, I had a sister that did incredibly well in school, so I tried to do incredibly well in school to keep up. That's not... that's just normal.
I tried to be the big brother, but everything that I was good at, Billy was horrible. We tried hockey, but he kept falling. Then I tried to teach him soccer, but he was scared of getting hit by the ball.
Dude, you're like... you're not gonna agree on everything, but maybe if you can tell he doesn't like sports, don't do sports. If you're not interested in, like, academia, then find something that you both are. Like, play, like, Madden or something. Like, find a middle ground.
My moment to shine came. A big soccer match was coming up that I was very proud of. Billy had a regional math competition on the same day. My
Ooh.
parents promised that they would go to that first, but they would not miss my match. I probably don't have to tell you the rest.
Parenting hack. if you have 2 children and you're still married or not married, but whatever, like cohabitating, send one parent to each event. That way, there's someone there for each child.
They said how they wanted to make it up to me by taking us all camping like we used to do. When we arrived at the campsite, I started to get excited despite myself. I remembered how my mom always helped me put up the tents, how Dad and I would be on the boat fishing, and how we would all sit around the campfire at night laughing and telling stories. Sadly, that happiness didn't last long. When it was time to set up the tents, my mom and Dad told me to do it with Billy. They wanted me to be the big brother and show him how it was done, but it didn't go well. When it was time to go fishing, it was the 3 of us, but we had to cut it short because Billy was getting sick on the boat. It was all happening again. It didn't matter where we were or what we were doing. Everything revolved around Billy. So I decided to get even. When they agreed, I led us deep into the woods and planned on leaving him for a bit just to scare him. He got distracted by some bugs on the ground, and I used the opportunity to sneak away. However, my plan backfired. When I looked around, I didn't know where I was, and everything looked the same.
Karma.
In my attempt to
Instant
sneak away
karma.
from Billy, I wasn't paying attention.
Watch. Billy's going to be like, he's not going to like the outdoors, but he's going to be smart enough to know, like, oh, the direction that I was walking in, let me just go the opposite direction.
That's when I saw him. Billy came rushing out of the brush. He intently gave me a hug and said that he's glad he found me. I don't know how he did it, but he grabbed my hand and led us out of the woods and back to the camp.
Because he's smart.
The whole time
You
we were
missed
walking,
that.
I heard him counting. It was like he mapped out the directions in his head. By the time we made it back to camp, the sun had completely sunk from the sky and the stars were out. My parents saw us come out of the trees and rushed over. They started to yell about how worried they were and how they told us not to go too far. When they turned their attention to me, I prepared myself to get the worst of it when Billy stepped in. "I'm sorry," he began. "Tyler warned me, but I ran off." I was shocked. They told Billy to be more careful and to listen to his brother. When they left, I turned to Billy and asked him why you took the blame. He looked at me, smiled, and said, "That's what brothers do for each other."
Okay, yeah, part of that was just irritating. Because these were, like, mostly normal sibling rivalry things. Yeah, his big issue was that, like, his brother wasn't as interested in being, like, an outdoorsy, masculine, like, little boy. So, yeah, that made him a monster. See, like, I thought that was gonna be, like, they adopted this kid who kept blaming me for things, who was just terrible, he got away with everything. And no, it was just like, my parents adopted a monster because he didn't like to play sports with me. You do you, kid, but seriously, like, Alright, this next story comes from Actually Happened, and it's called My Parents Gave Me Up for Adoption.
Hi, my name is Emily,
Hi,
and
Emily.
I want to tell you the story of how my mom gave me up for adoption. We had never been a model family. My parents argued a lot, and when they divorced, my father kicked us out. He wasn't
Oh.
a very caring father, but it still hurt a lot.
Yeah.
Somehow, he avoided paying alimony and child support. And since I was 12, we have gotten by on what little money my mom had in savings. For
Still
a
sucks.
long time, we moved from one of my mom's friends' houses to another. My mom had been a housewife before, so she had a hard time finding a normal job. Though, no matter how bad it was, I never complained, and I always tried to help my mom. I mowed lawns and walked the neighbors' dogs. I did most of the chores and babysat my 3-year-old brother to ease the strain on my mom.
I'm really curious as to where this story goes, because it seems like the eldest daughter is, like, making all the correct choices to help things. Like, she's even trying to make it financially easier.
We lived like this for almost 2 years. Things weren't getting any better, and my mom started to give in. She was getting depressed and irritated. She would take her frustration out on me, which always led to constant fighting.
Been there.
She would always apologize to me later, but we both knew that it wasn't the last fight. So, one day she sat me down and said that me and my brother were gonna go live with her friend Monica for a while. at least until she could find a stable job and a decent place to live. I didn't want to leave her, but at the
That's a
time,
bit
we were
suspicious.
holding her back. Then I found a pamphlet from some adoption agency. I read it again, and it wasn't about adopting. It was about giving up your own children for adoption.
I love the stork in the like the stork in the basket thing. Because when you tell someone that you're adopted, this is literally like what they imagine. You were just like left on someone's doorstep, or I guess in this case their windowsill.
There were even some tips on how to tell them about it. She said it wasn't an actual adoption. Her friends would be our temporary guardians, not real parents. It broke my heart. How could she give us up? We were her children. If she couldn't love us, who else would? She said that we would be better off with her friends and that eventually I would understand that it was the right decision to make. She was giving us away to people we didn't even know, but she had already decided. So when all the paperwork was done, we moved in with our new family. Perfect parents with their perfect son in a stupid house with a perfectly mowed lawn and garden gnomes.
Well, there's a lot of bitterness.
I hated them instantly. They were nice to us from the start and never said a bad word about us or our mom. Unlike
that's
them,
nice.
I wasn't being polite at all. I decided that now was my time to shine. I blamed them for what happened and lashed out at them with insults and accusations. If only they had helped my mom, then she wouldn't have had to give us up. They just wanted to take us away from her to fulfill their stupid fantasy of being such good Samaritans. After that, I
Wow.
refused to talk to them or to answer my mom's calls, but I couldn't ignore them forever. They were very patient with me and took me with them on family trips. They bought me my first smartphone, and not the cheap one either. Over time, I grew fond of them. After 2 years of living with the Collinses, I was more than happy to stay with them forever. This was right about the time that my mom announced she wanted to take us back. She had found...
Ooh, that gets me. That gets me so, because especially like in any case of like a not closed adoption, parents can just do this. They can just insert themselves back into their kids' lives after any amount of time. Like, you could have given your child up for adoption at like 6 months, and then at age 16 decide you want to be a parent then, and you can come in, and because you're the biological parent, you still have like legal rights to the kids. It's just a mess. It's just like messes me up when I hear stories like this.
a decent job in the same town we lived in. So she was going to visit us, and when she found a good place to live, my brother and I would go back and stay with her again.
Nah.
I didn't know how to react to this.
Yeah.
I liked the Collinses, and I didn't want to leave them or my new life behind. I was afraid that we were going to live in total poverty again. And I know it sounds selfish, but I preferred just living my life and not
not
constantly
selfish.
worrying whether we would eat the next day or not. I was a different person now, and she had her own life too that I didn't know much about. I have no
Yeah.
idea how we would manage to even talk to each other without Monica. We were constantly at each other's throats, and she was the one who would make us act civil. There was no dramatic speeches or grand gestures from my mom, but she apologized and promised that she could provide a better life for us. She said she loved us and wanted our family to be back together. Now I'm trying to forgive her, but it's really hard, though I do understand why she did it. We are still learning how to talk to each other without it being weird and awkward. I want to believe that this experience was a way to test the strength of our family. And in the end, it just got bigger. Well, I hope none of you have stories like mine. Share what you think of it in the comments.
Yeah, it's really hard, even when you get into like, even when you know that you're in a better situation, to still like have to accept the fact that your parents, for whatever reason, like left you. Oftentimes see like friends or neighbors or whatever who are very down on their luck, and it makes you question like, well, why couldn't that have been me? Like you can still be happy for the life that you have, but you can still wonder like why your parents decided that they wouldn't have rather suffered through with you than like giving you up. and then seeing them at a later point, like they also have their own lives. But yeah, that was a very real story. That's how a lot of these go. Alright, our last story today comes from Story Booth. All of these channels will have links in the description below, and this one's just entitled Adopted! I had to say it that way because there's an exclamation point at the end of it.
For 7 years of my life, I grew up in the foster system. I had to leave my mom's house because of the decisions she made to stop being there for her children. At the time, it was just me, an 8-year-old girl, and my brother, an 11-year-old, severely autistic boy. One day, the police showed up at our house. They asked me a lot of questions and then told us I would be staying at my aunt's house with her 3 kids, and my brother would go to a home to support his needs. I stayed with my aunt and her cousins for a year and a half until one day my aunt told me to pack some clothes. I thought I was going to spend some time with my other aunt and cousins, so happily I went to pack some clothes, but once I was done, I went to the front room and my aunt told me and my cousin I was going away for some time. I didn't know what that meant, but we all cried, and my caseworker showed up. My caseworker didn't tell me too much on our car right there, but for the most of the ride, I cried. Once we got there, I was greeted by someone I would soon look up to as a sister, and by more people I would soon consider my family. I lived there for 2.5 years. I wanted that to be my forever home, my forever family, but I found out my biological mom had another baby. He was only 5 months old, and the state wanted us to be together forever. I moved in with him and his foster family. I watched him grow up, cry, fuss, change his diapers. I never thought I'd have a little brother, but there he was right before my eyes. I thought that was it for our foster placements, but I was wrong.
Nope, you get
Something didn't work in that home, and we were moved after a year and a half of staying there. Now, we were with our very first white foster parent, a single mother with 3 cute but crazy kids.
I love
On
the
last day
kid
of
that's
school, we were
oh my gosh. I just noticed that. The kid's just dropping dirt and she's instantly vacuuming it up.
left. On my last day of school, we were taken to our next foster home. And our last one, thank you, Jesus. Another white family with 4 kids, a boy in the 11th grade, a girl going on 9th grade, another girl in the 7th grade, and another boy in like the 5th grade. And of course, 2 parents, a mom and a dad, and 2 lovely black dogs.
Aw.
Those people showed me and my brother so much love and care, even after our hearts were broken by so many people, so many different times. I never had a father figure in my life, so when I got to this one, I didn't really know how it felt to have a father at all. December 31st, 2014, we were adopted by these people. Being here for 2 years now, I've received lots
Aw.
of love and
That's
crazy
cute.
rolls and ground.
I love when adoption days like land on holidays. Like there's New Year's Eve, so every New Year's Eve, on top of being like a huge celebration because it's New Year's Eve, you also get to celebrate the day that, you know, a family said, yes, we want you forever.
Things. I'm blessed to have a place to finally call home.
Okay, I liked that last one. That last one was really sweet. The system typically will try and keep siblings together, but a lot of people end up having to be split up from their brothers and sisters, especially if they have, like, you know, quite a few. I liked how that, like, ending shot was her throwing away her duffel bag. Unfortunately, in most cases, like if you're in the foster system, you put all of your stuff into a trash bag, which is, like, so demeaning to me. With the exclusion of the first one, like, I get the first one. It was from the perspective of, you know, the kid that was already in the family. But yeah, the other 2 were very, very real. Pulled on my heartstrings a little bit at some points. We have a very, very interesting system when it comes to keeping families together and making adoptions work. These were good to see. And I love seeing people's adoption stories. I chose animated ones because, you know, people's actual adoption stories typically run pretty long. If you ever want to just like feel both disheartened and really good about the world, look up some adoption stories. You hear about how messed up our system is in a lot of them, but then you also hear about how people really do just want to help, and it forms families. You know, a family isn't just blood. But with that, I will stop being sappy. And if you made it this far in the video, go ahead and leave a like. Leave comments how you felt about the stories, Let me know if you're adopted, if you have a story, if you have a channel and you have your story posted. I would love to see it. Subscribe if you're new, or if you're not new and you just haven't subscribed yet. And I will see you guys next time. Bye.